it comes to coaching, I think one of the things that you put down is like how to understand players or whatever. But I said the first thing that I think is important when it comes to coaching is very much like here in PowerTech, is that the leaders create the environment. And I saw that with Charlie's team with Guelph. Is George is very, you know where you stand. So I can tell right now what type of team that he's going to have. It's like there's no nonsense. You're here to be a pro, and that's what it is. So you're going to have that type of atmosphere, which is good. And the leader's going to create the environment. So as a coach, you're going to set the tone for your environment. So I think it's number one important that if you want a team that goofs around and jokes around and whatever, then that's your leadership quality. That's what you're going to get. But if you have somewhere in the middle, so anyways, you got to decide what type of team you want, or you got to look at a philosophy. That's a better way of saying it. You have to have a philosophy when you go and take a team. So what's a philosophy? A philosophy is you got to be able to match the personnel, like your philosophy with your personnel, right? So you can't sit there and say, okay, I want to every team like so. That's where coaches, if they only know how to coach one way, or they have only one personality, then they're when they don't have the right personnel, they're not going to have any success. Now, depending on what level of hockey we're talking about, it'll have a little bit of variation, but I'm talking more like youth hockey because most people aren't going to be coaching the NHL anyways.
Yep.
So when you're coaching youth hockey, like it's a great experience, but if you want to have some success, and what I guess that's the other question is what is success and what is your philosophy? So if your philosophy is to make sure that you win, then that's going to be a whole different philosophy than developing players or whatever, right? So that philosophy is important. But so I look at number one is again why am I coaching, and that's your philosophy. So I always look at the level of talent I have on a team. Is it a fast team? Is it a big team? Is it a slow team? Are we a bunch of ham and eggers? Like whatever it is, then you have to build around that. So, like I said, I think I said before, I coached Charlie when he was really young and wasn't a very good team, but we worked on specific things to make them good, like to make them work within their skill. And then I had other teams that I've coached that were like really, really skilled. So I had a different philosophy for coaching them.
Okay, let me cut in on that.
Yeah.
So I want you to walk through actually Charlie's for like that team he played for in when it was AA team. It was before he was AAA, right?
Yeah, it was
so
SSA.
Yeah. So walk through when you first started as a coach there.
Yeah.
Kind of what? So these, first of all, how old? 8, 9?
They were minor, Adam. 8.
Okay,
8 and 9.
So we're talking 8 and 9-year-olds. They're playing
Yeah.
travel, so it's like a little bit competitive, but nothing like super serious, and they're very young. So actually go through like real quick just the steps. So you get this team. Like, what are you thinking about to the point that you were just making, like coming up with kind of like a team identity, more or less? So what did you see, and then how did that thought process lead you to kind of come up with a plan for developing that team?
Okay, so I didn't want to coach. That's number one. But when I took the team, I went out for the first practice. So in the first tryout, and we had 17 people try out. So I had to cut one kid or two. So that was fun. And one of the kids I cut was on the team the year before.
Yeah.
But my philosophy, okay, so there's a philosophy right there. When I took the team, it's like I had to be true to, like, you're coaching a team, so now I had to make a decision. Am I just going to keep the same guys, or am I going to say I have to cut somebody? So this kid deserves it, so I have to cut a kid from that was on the team last year, because I had to be responsible, number one, to the players, and I had to be responsible to the board. They hired me to do it, so I got to do a good job.
So sorry to cut you off, but despite the fact that you didn't want to coach, now you're coaching. Yeah. So now we're buying in to making sure that we're making this the best environment
100%,
possible. So now we're taking this serious. It's not just I'm just doing it because my kid's on the team. Now it's like, okay, let's try to get the most out of the situation.
There's nothing worse to me than a guy that coaches for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because it comes out in the wash, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just coaching just to make sure your kid has a spot, or you're just coaching because whatever those reasons are, it shows. So no, I take it very seriously. Plus, I have a very successful business that, it was like you can't be a jackass. But that's my nature, right? Is to be it's always my philosophy in life is to make other people better. So when I choose to do that, I chose to make everybody around me better.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So that was number one. So then we had our first tryout, and I'm like, wow, like we had to split the teams in half and play 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, and it's like, wow. So we did our first practice, and I was really didn't know what to do because I'm thinking the base level of this has got to be okay, at least this. So I went out there and there's kids that couldn't do crossovers, and I'm like, oh boy. And I went to the other coaches. I said, oh, this is tough. And right there, I was like, I don't want to do this. But I was committed now. I think it's going to be a long year. But I sat back and I said, okay, this is what I have though. Okay, they can't pass the puck.
Here's your cards.
Here's my cards.
Yeah.
Here's my cards. So I looked at it and I'm like, they can't skate. So I knew, okay, I'm going to have to do a lot of skill work with skating. But now I also know that if we have 2 or 3 hours of practice a week, and if I do an hour or 2 of it just skating, that's a great way to have kids quit or not buy in.
Right.
So I knew I had to make it like a good pace and do some skill work where they're going to by default just get better, because you're not going to improve everybody immensely by doing specific drills. So anyways, and then the other thing I looked at is they can't move a puck at all. So I'm going to spend time on being a really good puck moving team, at least to a certain level. And then my last thing was there's very little skill. So I'm going to have to teach them a little bit of hockey. And I thought that was actually really important, even at a young level, because I think a lot of people, you'll hear arguments about, should you teach systems or should you not? Well, the bottom line is you're teaching hockey. If you're coaching hockey. So they have to learn a little bit of hockey to make them better hockey players. And then you never know where it's going to go. So I looked at it and I said, I'm going to teach them a little bit of system. I am not talking, well, actually we got pretty good. But I said, okay, we're not going to score a lot of goals. So we're going to have to be defensively decent. So I gave them a little bit of structure, a neutral zone structure, and an offensive zone, a defensive offensive zone, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so that was the philosophy that I worked on from there.
Okay.
Okay, did I go off topic?
No, you're great on. You're dialed in, man.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
So just to summarize what you just said, so you see your team, you don't have a lot of skill, you didn't have a lot of players to pull from, so you can't have a lot of skill. So then you realize, okay, this isn't a team that's skilled. They're not good with puck skills. They're not good at passing. They're not good at skating. Okay, so now I know that I have.
They're not good at hockey.
They're not good at hockey yet. Yeah, and they're 8. So
That's right.
So not only are they not good at the skills, but you also are in a position where I need to also make this kind of fun because they're little kids.
Yep.
So you identified those 2 issues, and now you're like, okay, so I need to work on skills, but we can't just do skills because it is a team and they're going to not want to play. Like, it's because it's not fun if you're just hammering skills all the time. Yeah. Okay. So
you're not going to be a good hockey player by doing tight turns on cones.
Right. That's right. So then you mentioned you need to teach them some hockey.
Yes.
And in that, you're talking about a little bit of system play, like where you're kind of moving as a unit and playing together rather than, because a lot of times coaches, especially when the kids are young, is you just get by on skill.
Yes.
So whoever the best player is, it's just get them to score, and you kind of leave everyone behind. You don't really teach that flow of like, you're our best player, sure, but if you use your D, then you'll open up some space over here or something or whatever. And even if those D aren't great, if you can get them to a level where they can just move the puck well, or they can just make a basic pass or whatever, or make a little bit of a play. Now those guys, even though they're maybe not as good as your top guy who's 8 years old, you can still get everyone involved, and now you're starting to play hockey like a team, like you're doing some team things. So that's awesome.